Welcome to our last video of our Sierra Blanca series of New Mexico's Forgotten History. We're looking at the Loma Grande area today and the Water Dog Claim. So join us as we wrap up our Sierra Blanca series of New Mexico's Forgotten History. Morning, we're over here at Tommy LeMay's water dog property. Off in the distance we've got North and South Baldy, Buck Mountain, and Monjo Lookout. You can just barely see the tip of the lookout way over there. So we talked about that when we were up at Monjo. The actual water dog property is this mine dump way down here in the bottom, that kind of yellowish thing. But the interesting thing about the geology in this area, this is one of the very early gold deposits that was actually discovered here. And they didn't quite know what to do with it because it's a breccia pipe. And there are actually three major breccia pipes, four if you want to lump two of them together. And that's the Great Western, there's this one, Parsons Rialto, and then Veracruz. And they're a completely different style of mineralization that the folks back in the 1870s and 1880s didn't really quite understand. They were used to vein mining, and they really didn't know quite what to do with highly disseminated gold deposits. So some of the very first claims that were ever staked in this area in the Bonita Mining District were actually staked right up here. I did a bunch of exploration here in the late 1980s, early 1990s, cleaning up some of the old drill roads. We drilled a bunch of holes up on top of the hill. It's actually a nice little gold mine, except the problem is it doesn't really meet the grade specifics to really be productive. Now, of course, with gold at 2,000, it certainly does, but who knows how long gold's going to stay at 2,000. That's the problem. So let's walk on down the hill and take a look at the water dog. So this is a good example of the water dog breccia. A breccia is a rock that's glued together of angular fragments of another rock or other types of rock. And you can see that here. This actually does have some fairly decent assays for gold on it, this little outcrop right in here. But they wouldn't have known what to do with it. That doesn't really fit the models that they had for geology from, about 1860 all the way up to about 1910, 1920 before we started to understand that. So just wanted to point out what breccia actually looks like. So this lower road goes to one of the more productive drill holes that we had. It was just right down here. It's of interest because about 200 feet down we hit a very large artesian water flow. As a matter of fact, it was so large that it was very problematic for us. We really needed to kind of control the flow of drilling fluids and whatnot that were down there, and the water just kept squirting them right back out. We had to abandon the hole at about 450 feet. We offered the well, because it was making about 80 to 90 gallons a minute for weeks. We offered the well to the Forest Service, but they declined. We even had a slick line that was running to the top of the hill that would have very easily filled pumper trucks and whatnot for fighting forest fires. I do believe one of the remarks was that I got that the probability of a large fire in this area was very small. It's unfortunate. We had a hard time plugging this well up. I'm not entirely sure what the drilling company finally did to get it closed down, but I know they were cramming 4x4s and 6x6s down it in an attempt to stop the water flow. It still seeps just a little bit, so there's a small spring right down here. So we're here on the dump of the water dog property. The incline shaft is like right over here. It's pretty much got a great big tree stuffed in the mouth of it, so you'd have a hard time getting back in there, and there's really nothing to see. Everything is out here on the dump. I'm not entirely sure when Tommy LeMay originally staked this property, but I leased it from him back in the late 80s, early 90s. The LeMay family is another one of those families like the Zumwalts, the Skinners, and the Pfingstons that are really, really old in the country. The Peebles would be another. Have been here a long time. it's a fairly decent little ore intercept that Mr. LeMay exposed here. It's got quite a bit of copper in it. So if you're out here on the dump, picking up pieces of azurite and malachite isn't particularly difficult. You can also find small pieces, small flakes of biotite mica. Those are actually pretty nice. And then there's another thing that we should talk about here. So if you're on an old mine dump and you run across a piece of copper wire that looks like this, these are lead wires or leg wires from electric blasting caps. Just leave them alone. This has been here for a long time, 50s, 60s. So if there was a squib cap or a dead cap, it's probably well and truly dead by now. But if there's a chance of a misfire on a fresh dump or something, you don't want to be tugging those wires out of there. The cap could go off and cause you some pretty severe or serious injury. And heaven help you if there's a chunk of dynamite attached to the end of it from a bootleg or something like that. Again, off in the distance is Monjo Lookout. We pointed back at this mine dump. The great big mine shaft that I talked about earlier on is over the hill in that direction over near Littleton Canyon. Actually, it's right on the edge of Littleton Canyon and Iron Canyon. Iron Canyon, by the way, had really the last stand of old growth timber that had been there for a long time. Probably the oldest timber that was still here in the Sierra Blancas. Unfortunately, it burned with the Little Bear fire. So this is the Water Dog property. Feel free to come down here, I guess, and pick up some malachite and azurite and maybe a few pieces of mica. So we're closing out our Sierra Blanca series of New Mexico Forgotten History by War Possum Productions. Thank you so very much for watching. Just to my left here is the Old Tunnel Springs claim, and it's actually the site of an aqueduct that ran all the way over to the Helen Ray American mine during the Depression to run some placer projects over there. But that's kind of a teaser for another day. We will do an entire series on the Helen Ray American, Dry Gulch, and all of that section. It's way too much to talk about now. Just one other thing to remember, when you cross the Forest Service gate into Nogal Canyon here, all of this private property that runs all the way up here, those are old mining claims. They're patented mining claims and patent mining claim mill sites. So all of this private property actually owes its history to mining here in this area. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.